What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today we have got our Week 6 fantasy quarterback starts and sits for every single matchup, so make sure to tune in. And if you guys enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe. And in the meantime, also check us out online on Twitter at AllDayPigskin. Give us a follow to continue interacting with us as the week progresses. And check out our website, alldaypigskin.com, to sign up for a free newsletter and get exclusive content. All the details in the description, but for now, let's get right into it. Before getting into our breakdown, we want to give you guys a quick word from our sponsors at Overlay Fantasy Sports, who we've actually been using since the start of the NFL season, specifically their matchup shop function, which is absolutely awesome. And let's face it, betting on the same old Team A versus Team B game can get a little bit boring. Well, that's where the matchup shop function comes into play, as it allows you to bet on individual player matchups. All you have to do is put your bet in terms of who you think will have a higher fantasy performance. And it's incredibly simple as well. Just like a normal bet would work, you've got your different spreads, anywhere from Thursday night football to Sunday's games, or even Monday night football. You can have a number of different possibilities and choices. You will find a bet that you love, whether it's two running backs versus each other, two quarterbacks, two wide receivers. Honestly, it's all there. And if you guys want to even get a couple different bets going, Overlay Fantasy allows you to do that, as well as you can put single bets, but you can also get a couple of bets together on one matchup slip and get a big parlay going for a big time payout. And honestly, if the NFL isn't your thing, have no fear. Overlay Fantasy has got other options like golf, MLB, and the NBA. So make sure to check it out and have all that homework you're doing not only benefit your fantasy squad, but your wallet as well. Our first game of the week, we have got the Bears at the Panthers. And honestly, if you guys are looking for startable fantasy quarterback options, I would tell you guys to look elsewhere, because we have both Nick Foles and Teddy Bridgewater as sits. And let me elaborate. Nick Foles, well, we know what the situation is with him. The fact of the matter is, whether it's Foles, whether it's Trubisky, these quarterbacks for the Bears just cannot play a consistent 4 quarters. And yes, I would probably say that Foles has the easier defensive matchup here compared to the Panthers versus the Bears defense. But for what it's worth, the Panthers' passing defense is actually all right. And I said this before when talking about the rushing expectations in this game. This should be a big David Montgomery type of performance, because the Panthers really struggle against the rush. So I don't anticipate Foles really having to do all that much. So for that reason, I just think the game flow here won't really be in the favor of Foles either. I'm fading him. And then Teddy Bridgewater as well. He's had 2 really nice weeks, but that's been versus some pretty easy matchups defensively. This Bears defense is on a whole nother level. I think this will be a relatively low scoring affair. And even with guys like Anderson, Moore, and Mike Davis, I still don't see that big upside for Bridgewater. So I am sitting him here as well. Then we've got the Broncos at the Patriots, and tentatively, you see Cam Newton as a start. He was taken off the COVID IR list, which means that he's trending in the right direction to play. And if that's the case, you start Cam Newton. I'm not really afraid of this matchup in terms of the Broncos defensively. And even with some limited weapons, Edelman, Bird, and Harry, Cam Newton has proven that he can still get it done. He's got that really high floor due to his legs. So I see him returning here and being a top 10 quarterback fantasy-wise right from the get-go. And then you also see Drew Lock here as a tentative sit. Right now, it seems like Drew Lock will potentially play in this game, coming back from his injury. And it's true that Gilmore for the Patriots probably won't be suiting up, but I still don't like the situation here for Drew Lock. I think there might be some rust. Maybe he isn't quite at 100%. I'm not quite sure the situation. And offensively, we know the Broncos are banged up, and I still think the Patriots have enough weapons defensively. They scheme very well to shut down the best weapons for the Broncos. So I just think it'll be a long day for Drew Lock, or really whoever plays quarterback for the Broncos. That's why I'm fading them there. Next, we've got the Browns at the Steelers. I'll start Big Ben Roethlisberger. I like the weapons that the Steelers have, and this matchup for them defensively is much easier than what the Browns have to deal with. Claypool having that huge breakout game last week. We'll see what happens with Deontay Johnson, whether he plays or not, but it's good to know that Claypool offers that next man up option. And Juju Smith-Schuster obviously still there. I expect him to have a bounce back game as well. So I think Ben Roethlisberger, probably a mid-level quarterback 2 type of start, but with Baker Mayfield, I am fading him here. The Steelers defense has been shutting down quarterbacks left and right, and Baker Mayfield kind of getting a little bit nicked up in his game last week. I just don't like the situation here. I don't see the Browns scoring all that many points, and if they do, I think it'll come courtesy of the rushing attacks. So Baker Mayfield to me is a sit. From here, we got the Bengals at the Colts, and I'll start Joe Burrow. Honestly, the matchup could be better, and Burrow's coming off a horrendous game versus the Ravens, but we told you guys that that would more than likely be the case. But here, with all the bye weeks and with some really bad matchups in other games, I'll take a shot on Joe Burrow. I think he's probably a low-end quarterback too, but he's got the weapons there in guys like Higgins, Boyd, and Joe Mixon. I don't see this being that high scoring of an affair. That's why this gets me a little bit worried, but I'll take a shot on Joe Burrow if you guys need a desperation play. But with Phillip Rivers, he arguably has the much better matchup here versus the Cincinnati Bengals defense. But honestly, from everything we've seen from Rivers, I just have zero trust in him right now. Even versus other good defensive matchups, he's not doing anything too special. He's still turning the ball over. He looks so slow in the pocket, and his receivers really aren't doing him any favors. Honestly, I think the Colts probably just focus on the rushing attack and use Phillip Rivers when they have to. So for that reason, I'm fading him here. I mean, honestly, when there's already rumors about the Colts potentially having to come out and saying Phillip Rivers is still our guy, that's all you need to know. So for that reason, I'm sitting him versus the Bengals. Next up, Lions and Jaguars. Here, I actually feel pretty comfortable starting both of these guys. Matthew Stafford, I think you could argue, is a low-end quarterback 1. I expect big games from Kenny Golladay and from Marvin Jones versus this Jaguars defense. I definitely feel comfortable in saying that Matthew Stafford can throw it all over them. And then Gardner Minshew, I mean, maybe doesn't have as many consistent weapons and not obviously as polished as Matthew Stafford. But this Lions defense, it also lets up big plays and, big scoring type of matchups. So Gardner Minshew, I think you could argue, is a high-end quarterback 2 on the week. After this, we've got the Texans at the Titans. And again, I'm starting both quarterbacks here, both Deshaun Watson and Ryan Tannehill. And man, at least we saw a big-time game from Brandon Cooks this last week. Now, that's probably a blip on the radar. And some people might say, well, this is the Bill O'Brien effect after having him let go. And maybe that's true. I do expect this offense to look a little bit different without Bill O'Brien. And, maybe Deshaun Watson trends a little bit better in terms of long-term upside. But either way, this matchup isn't all that scary. I like Deshaun Watson, probably as a high-end quarterback 2, low-end quarterback 1 here, especially if Brandon Cooks continues to play consistently. And then for the Titans, Ryan Tannehill coming off a huge game versus the Buffalo Bills. The Texans defense doesn't scare us here at all. And slowly but surely, all of a sudden, the Titans are getting healthier, getting guys off of the COVID IR list. A.J. Brown coming back was a huge bonus for them. He looked great. Jonnu Smith still doing his thing. Humphreys coming off the IR as well. Corey Davis will soon follow as well. So I'll take a chance on Ryan Tannehill. I think you could say he's in that similar type of expectation as Deshaun Watson on the week. Before continuing, I want to tell you guys a little bit about a new partner of ours in Thrive Fantasy, which is an absolutely awesome daily fantasy sports app that specializes in player props. And the great thing about Thrive Fantasy is that it's super simple to use, as they've eliminated the need to do countless hours of research because they only ask you about the top tier athletes in a respective sport. Literally, all you have to do is find a contest and join it. From there, just select the props you like and rack up the most points to win a share of the prize pool. And it's not just the NFL. There's NBA, MLB, PGA. Literally, you think it, Thrive Fantasy has it. In fact, Thrive has awarded over $1.5 million in prizes since launching in 2018 and has $50,000 guaranteed in prizes weekly. So sign up today, and when you use promo code ALLDAY on sign up, you receive an instant match bonus up to $50. You can download Thrive Fantasy on the App Store, Play Store, or by visiting their website, thrivefantasy.com. So stop waiting, sign up today, use promo code ALLDAY, and start propping up today. Then we've got Washington at the Giants, and I'm tentatively starting Kyle Allen here. Now, if for some reason Kyle Allen doesn't come back from the hit he took last week, and it's the Alex Smith show or something like that, I'm probably not playing any one of these starting quarterbacks here. But Kyle Allen, he was on a good pace last week before getting injured. And versus this Giants defense, I think he offers some mid-level quarterback 2 upside. So I would take a chance on him. But for the Giants and Daniel Jones, I am fading him here. He struggled a lot with turnovers. Last week, I liked him versus the Dallas Cowboys, but this Washington defense is better, and I think this will probably be a low-scoring affair for the Giants, so I am fading Jones overall. Next up, we've got the Ravens at the Eagles. You're starting Lamar Jackson. That's pretty easy, and I feel good about him. You know, last week maybe was a little bit limited in terms of his rushing upside, but as we get further removed from his, lower body, nagging injury, whatever you want to call it, he'll continue to improve in that category. And I think this matchup versus the Eagles is a good one. I anticipate Lamar Jackson to be a borderline top 5 quarterback on the week. However, Carson Wentz, I am sitting him here. This Ravens defense has proven time in and time out that it's a good unit, and with the way Carson Wentz is struggling, I would rather fade him here. Still some banged up pieces offensively, so no thank you to Wentz. Next up, we've got the Falcons at the Vikings. I'm starting both these quarterbacks here. Matt Ryan, yes, he's coming off a very poor performance versus the Panthers, and to be fair, he's underperformed this year. We'll see whether the firing of Dan Quinn is maybe what this team needs. I'm not quite sure, but right now I'm just hoping that Julio Jones returns because this offense is definitely missing him. But I still think potentially even without him, Matt Ryan with Calvin Ridley can do enough damage versus this Vikings defense. I think this will be one of the higher scoring games of the week. So for that reason, I'll fire up Matt Ryan, but probably I'm viewing him as a mid-level quarterback too. Probably Kirk Cousins, honestly, has the higher upside here versus this atrocious Falcons defense. I expect a bounce-back game from Justin Jefferson. Adam Thielen continues to do his thing, and then whether it's Dalvin Cook or Alexander Mattison, those guys will also get their opportunities. But Kirk Cousins, I think you could argue, is a high-end quarterback too versus this Falcons defense. Next up, Jets at Dolphins. I love Ryan Fitzpatrick this week versus the Jets. Pretty much every single week, whoever is playing the Jets quarterback-wise, you have to start him. And Fitzpatrick on a very nice little run here. Usually when that happens, he kind of tends to disappear, but I don't see that happening versus the Jets. I think Fitzpatrick is a, low-end, mid-level quarterback 1 fantasy-wise this week. And then for the Jets, I am sitting Joe Flacco. Darnold's still out, and Flacco in his place. Yes, the Dolphins defense can be taken advantage from time to time, but the Jets now, they're just a complete mess releasing Le'Veon Bell. All you've got left is Jamison Crowder. I don't like the prospects here. I'm fading Joe Flacco and the Jets in general. Then Packers at Buccaneers. I'm starting Aaron Rodgers. Feel very confident in that. I think he's got top 5 quarterback upside this week, especially with the return of Devontae Adams. Don't sleep on that. And then Tom Brady. We'll also start him, but a little bit more tentatively here. I think he's probably in the mid-level quarterback 2 type of conversation. Obviously coming off a performance versus the Bears where he struggled, but that's a pretty good defense. However, what I'm concerned about here more so is the status of Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, both a little bit banged up. And if one of those guys misses this game, or God forbid both of them do, then you could see Tom Brady kind of move his way to a sit. So that's what we have to monitor here. If both those guys play, though, I feel good about starting Tom Brady. Afterwards, Rams at 49ers. I'll start Jared Goff. he's on a nice little pace here with Woods, Kupp all playing well, with the rushing attack doing its thing, and the 49ers just struggling right now. They can't get the quarterback situation taken care of. Jimmy Garoppolo still clearly not at 100%, and the defense banged up. So I'll start Jared Goff. I think he's a high-end quarterback 2 on the week. And then you see here we've got Jimmy Garoppolo, or honestly whoever plays quarterback for the 49ers as a sit. I think we saw that Garoppolo's probably rushed back a little bit last week. And this is a much tougher matchup defensively versus the Rams, so I'm sitting him here. Then Chiefs at Bills, no question, you start both these guys, Mahomes and Josh Allen. Mahomes coming off a loss, but he looked really good in that in terms of offensive output, and then so is Josh Allen, kind of his first dud game of the year, but I think both these guys are, again, quarterback 1s on the week. I expect Josh Allen to bounce back, and hopefully John Brown returns for the Bills, because that will be a key weapon for Josh Allen in this passing attack. Then Cardinals at the Cowboys. Again, starting both these quarterbacks, obviously have much more confidence in Kyler Murray. And for what it's worth, he has been up and down, can be inconsistent. But this matchup here versus this Cowboys defense, I have faith in Kyler Murray. He's probably a top 10 quarterback play on the week in terms of fantasy. And then for the Cowboys, obviously, unfortunately, no Dak Prescott to mention here. That awful injury. Shame to see him go out for the year. He was having a great season. But insert Andy Dalton, arguably the best backup quarterback in the NFL. I think the Cowboys will still have a very good chance to win this game. The Cardinals defense doesn't scare us, and Dalton still has all those weapons. So I actually see him as a decent, probably mid to high level quarterback 2. But again, obviously Kyler Murray is the preferred option. So with that, we wrap up this week 6 quarterback start and sit breakdown. And as always, let us hear it in the comment section. Did you agree, disagree, along with any other starter sit questions you might have? We will do our best to answer them. And in the meantime, if you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe. Also, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us as the week progresses. Shoot us your questions there. We'll also answer them. And also check out our website, alldaypigskin.com. Sign up for a free newsletter for some exclusive content. All the details in the description. But in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.